Mendel at the two dots. Mendel and Aleph. Mi ha'ish asher eres isha. Who is the man that has gotten engaged, kiddushin, to a woman and not taken her? So he should go and he should not fight because he may die and somebody else will take her. Tonu Rabbanan asher eres echad ha'ma'ares es ha'besula v'echad ha'ma'ares es ha'almana v'echad shomer es yavam v'afilu chamisha achin v'meis echad mehem ba'milchama kulan chozrin. So asher eres, when they get engaged, that means whether you're getting engaged to a besula or you're getting engaged to an almana or seemingly a grusha or a shomeres yavam, that means if you have 5 brothers, so that means we know that one of them needs to do yibum. You learned Meseches Yivamos, but as long as they're waiting, so they're all quote-unquote chayiv until one of them does yibum or chalitza. So in any of these cases, these people would be considered to be me'ares, would be considered to be asher eres isha, and therefore they would not fight in battle. Lo lakach, it doesn't say lo lakach, it says velo likacha. He didn't take her. Prat le'amana le'kohen gadol grusha v'chalutza le'kohen hedyon mamzeres u'nesina le'Yisrael bas Yisrael le'mamzer le'nasin. When it says likacha and doesn't say lakach, so likacha excludes the lekichas iser, as Rashi says. If you go ahead and you get engaged to somebody that you're usher to be with, like a kohen gadol to an amana, a regular kohen to a grusha v'chalutza, a regular Yisrael to a mamzeres or a nesina, a regular Bas Yisrael to a mamzer or nasan. If you become engaged to any of these people, so the person would not be exempt from the war. Asher eres isha, you're exempt from the war. No, you're only exempt from the war when you do what you're supposed to do. When you go ahead and you get engaged to a person you're supposed to be engaged to. When you get engaged to a person you're not allowed to be married to, so then you would not be exempt from the war.
How does that work if the Kedushin is Chal?
Okay, we'll see in a second. Lema delo ke Rabbi Yossi Aglili. So this is not like Rabbi Yossi Aglili. Why? De'i Rabbi Yossi Aglili, because, well, the Kedushin can be Chal without the exemption being Chal.
Right.
That's two separate things. Okay, so says the Gemara. De'i Rabbi Yossi Aglili, it's not Rabbi Yossi Aglili, because he says, Ha'amar, he said, Hayarei v'rach halivav. We're going to see today that the other pasuk says that the shotrim tell the Am, and they say somebody that's a scaredy cat, so you're also exempt from war. Why? Because you might melt the hearts of the other fighters. If they see the guy that's nervous when he sees a gun, so all of a sudden you're going to make everybody else nervous as well. So you're better off staying home. So he learns, and we'll see in the Gemara that seemingly he doesn't argue. But over here it seems like he's arguing at this point. But even if he's just adding, let's say he's adding. So everyone seems to agree that if somebody's yarei rachal levav, somebody that's a scaredy cat doesn't go to war. But he adds, hayarei v'rachal levav, you may have heard this before, zeha misyarei me'avero shebiyado. If you're nervous to go to battle because you have a lot of averos, and you know that if you put yourself in that position, God's going to take advantage and make sure that you get killed. So in that case, you're actually exempt from going to the war because, again, you're misyarei me'avera shabiyado. That's what yarei means. Not just that you're a scaredy cat, but you're actually scared of averos. So where do we see that this is not like Rabbi Yossi Aglili? Well, what do you see here? According to Rabbi Yossi Aglili, if you're misyarei shavera shabiyado, so you're patur from the milchama, we just said that you're not exempt if you're going ahead and you're a kohen who's marrying a grusha v'chalutza. If you're engaged to a grusha v'chalutza, you're not exempt. Not like Rabbi Yossi Aglili. Seemingly he would say you are exempt. Why? Because Lamaisa, you should be exempt because you have something to be scared of. So says the Gemara, no. Afilu tema Rabbi Yossi Aglili. No, it could be Rabbi Yossi Aglili. Why? Kedirabba. De'amar Rabba la'olam eino chayav at sheyibol. No, really, you're only chayav in these cases like a kohen to a grusha v'chalutza once you have the bia. Once you actually marry her. Matam lo yikach mishum lo yichala. Because the whole isser of taking them is not just because it's not nice. It's because we don't want your kids to be mechalel. We don't want them to be chalalim. So therefore, mishum hachi eino lo ka'at. So let's say this outside for a second. So Rabbi Yossi Aglili seems to say that this person would be exempt. And we said that our Mishnah implies that the person would not be exempt because Lamaisa they're doing something wrong. Says the Gemara and clarifies, no. Even Rabbi Yossi Aglili would say that this person, in fact, is not exempt. What does it mean when you're misyari min haveros? Once he goes ahead and he would marry this person, if a kohen would marry a grusha v'chalutza, so then in that case, Rabbi Yossi Aglili would say that the person is in fact exempt for a different reason. They're exempt because of the averos shabiyado. It comes out that, Lamaisi would probably argue anyway, this mission of this brayso is talking about eres. But seemingly in the case of Kedushin, in the case of Nisuin, so seemingly Rabbi Yossi Aglili would say that you are exempt because of the averos shabiyado, and it's not clear that the Tana of this brayso would hold that you're exempt. Seemingly he would say that you're not exempt. But okay.
he can't go back anyway.
What?
If he did Nisuin, he couldn't go back anyway. So.
Go back on what?
From the war.
Again, the point is that if he didn't assume it to somebody that's usher to him,
right.
So then seemingly the man de Amar, the first man de Amar, would say you are not exempt because it was somebody that was usher to you. According to Yosei Aglili, you would be exempt because it's Misyari.
The whole premise was that he never had relations. So once he did Nisuin, everybody would be.
No, that's what I'm saying. Once he did Nisuin,
right.
It's not clear that the Tanakama would still exempt him. It sounds like if he did Nisuin Be'isr, Tanakama would still make him go to war.
Even though he did an Avera.
Yeah, because again, they're not worried. If you don't have Zam Bisyare Me Avera Shabiyado, then you have no exemption for somebody that marries Be'isr. The whole exemption for somebody that marries Be'isr is that his Bisyare Shavera Shabiyado. It's like a funny thing. It's like, again, it sounds silly, but it sounds like we're rewarding a person who does something wrong because we look at going to war as something that we don't want to do. But the mice of going to war is something that you want to do, and it's a privilege and something you get to defend the Jewish people. So then it's sort of like a punishment that you can't go to war because you did something wrong, right? We only look at, the guy gets to be exempt. Yeah, you can do a lot of things to be exempt. You could cut off your hand also, I'm saying. But Lamaisa, the point is that if you're marrying somebody that's usher, it sounds like the Gemara is saying that you're not exempt. And if you say Aryai v'rach halevav, so it's like a bad thing that you have to stay home. Okay. Lamaisa, though, we see that there's a difference between marrying and erison, and we'll get to that later. But again, in general, asher eirei, so a person who's engaged, a regular person who's engaged to a regular woman, would be exempt from the war. A person who is married would be exempt as well, as we'll see. There's actually a chiddush by the marriage. And a person who is married or somebody that's engaged to somebody be'isr, so seemingly in that case one would not be exempt when you're engaged to somebody be'isr. Once you marry somebody be'isr, then seemingly Rabbi Yosef Glili would say that you're exempt because of Yarei V'rach Alevav, the Avavera Shabiyadu, and the Tanakama would maybe even say that you're still chayav because again it was a marriage be'isr. Tana Rabbanan. Asher bona, asher not, asher eires. So the different exemptions are building a house, planting a vineyard, and getting engaged. Limda Torah derech eretz. So the Torah teaches derech eretz, which most people don't follow today. Sheyivna adam bayis, first build a house, v'hita karem, and plant a vineyard, and ve'achach yisa isha, and then go ahead and get married. Usually we get married and then our parents build the house and plant the vineyard for us. Ve'af Shlomo Amar bechachmaso. Shlomo says in his chachmaso, Hachein bachutz malachtecha. You should prepare outside the malachta. Ve'atada basad delach, and prepare the field. Acharu banisa beisecha. Again, similarly, Hachein bachutz malachtecha ze'abayis. First prepare the bayis. Ve'atada basad delach ze'akerem. That's the vineyard. Achar banisa beisecha. After you have the house and the vineyard, zoisha, then you get married. Dover acher. A different thing you should do in order. Zeh mikra. We don't follow this. Unfortunately, we don't do this either. Where you learn all of mikra, then you learn mishnah. We usually jump to the Gemara. Unfortunately, without knowing the mikra and the Mishnah. This is the famous joke I said from time to time. You ask you ask somebody who learns Mikra, so you ask them, how do you know Moshe and Aaron are brothers? So it says in the Torah that Moshe and Aaron are brothers. You ask a guy who learns Gemara, how do you know Moshe and Aaron are brothers? So he never learned Mikra. So he tells you what? He says, I once saw in the Chidushe of Rav Shimon Shkap that there was a case where two brothers were fighting, and the Beis Din said that you give it to this brother, and he used as an example the names Moshe and Aaron. It must be that Moshe and Aaron were brothers. So that's the classic example that, if you learn Mikra, you know Moshe and Aaron are brothers. If you don't learn Mikra, so then you have to figure out by Svara based on a diuk in somebody's Chidushe or Chuvos.
Derech Moral.
The what?
The Derech
Moral is a beautiful, it's a beautiful thing. Halavai, we should be Yotzei to know Mikra, but the way to do it is to learn Mikra, then Mishnah, then Gemara. Mikra Mishnah. The way they're learning a little bit differently. First you learn Mikra Mishnah, Gemara, and then Achar Banisa Beisacha Elu Ma'asim Tovim. You can't compare Ma'asim Tovim that come from a Ben Torah to Ma'asim Tovim that come from somebody that's not filled with Torah. Says the Gemara, Belaz ben Ashur B'Yosei Glili Omer, Hachim Mechutz Malatcha Mikra Mishnah Gemara. Vada B'Sadalach Elu Ma'asim Tovim. Achar Banisa Beisacha Dorosh V'Kabel Schar. Once you know Mikra Mishnah Gemara, once you have Ma'asim Tovim, then you can really be Dorosh. You can really go and delve into the Torah and really be Mekabel Schar. So the Mishnah over there says that if a person rebuilds something that was, why he would want to do that is a separate discussion, but if he knocks down a house and rebuilds it exactly the way it was, so that would not be called a bayis chadash, and he would not be exempt from the army. Tana im hoseh bo dimos echad chozer, as Rashi explains. If you add even one layer of bricks, whether in the width or in the height, so then it would be considered to be a new house, and you would in fact be chozer me'ocher amalchama. Rabbi Lezer omer, afa bonem BAYT levanim b'sharon lo haya chozer. If you would build a house made out of the bricks from Sharon, I don't know why you would do so, but you would not be choser. Why? What's the problem with building the bricks? They're not such good bricks. So, as the Gemara will tell us, you're going to have to rebuild it very shortly, so it's not considered to be such a simcha, and you will not be choser. Says the Gemara, why? What's the pshat? Says the Gemara, Tana mibnei shemechad shinoiso pamayim b'shavua. If you use these bricks, you got to rebuild your house twice every 7 years. Don't try that at home. Ve'elu she'en zazim mimakoman. Bana bayis chadash v'chincho. Tana Rabbanan. Isha chadasha. So now the second pasuk, again, the pasuk we brought before was Miya isha sher eres isha. Now we're talking about a person who actually marries a woman. The pasuk says, listen carefully, Ki yikach ish isha chadasha, a new woman, and we're going to make a diuk based on that. And then it says, Lo yetze bat tzava, he doesn't go to the tzava, v'lo yavor alav, l'chol davar, and he doesn't do anything. What do you mean? If he doesn't go to the tzava, of course he's not doing anything. Rather, he needs to go ahead and v'samach kasishto. And again, the reason by engaged, the reason that you don't go to war is because you're afraid that you're going to die, chas v'sham, and then somebody else is going to marry her. The reason once you're married is because Lamaisa, they want you to be home for a year to make your wife happy, and it's a separate reason. Lamaisa nowadays is probably different. The wife would be happier for you not to be home for the year, and she'd send you to the war, so you probably wouldn't be exempt. But back in the day when they used to like their wives, or the wives used to like the husbands, so they actually want them to be home for the year. Hamevin Yavin. Tanu Rabbanan, Isha Chadasha. Ask your wife when you go home today whether she would send you to the war or rather she have you around for the year. Chances are she would be sending you to the war.
Your wife may be watching the DAF.
What?
Your wife may be watching the DAF.
That's not a bad thing. I'm not saying anything bad. I'm just saying the wives like having their husbands out.
It depends whether they have an insurance policy.
Depends if they have the insurance policy. Tanu Rabbanan, Isha Chadasha, Ein Liel Isha Chadasha. They only know if you marry a new woman. What does that mean, a new woman, as opposed to an old woman? No, Almana or Grusha Minayin. How do you know if you marry an Almana or a Grusha? Again, assuming you're not a Kohen or Kohen Gadol, how do you know that you're exempt from the war? Talmud Lomar Isha Mikom Makom. Any woman you marry, you get this exemption for a year. Im Kain Ma Talmud Lomar Isha Chadasha. So what are you telling me, Isha Chadasha? Misha Chadasha Lo. No, there is an exemption. There is an exception, I'm sorry. The exception is it has to be new to you. If you take back a woman that you divorced, and you go ahead and you have charot and you want to marry her again, assuming she wasn't married in between. Once she's married in between, it's too late. If you're a Kohen, it's too late. But Lamaisa, if you're a regular Stam as a Yid like me, and you divorce your wife, so then in a Chanam you can take her back. No, you're a Stam Yid like me. If you happen to be a Stam Yid like me, and that person who's a Stam Yid like me happens to divorce their wife, so then in a Chanami they would be able to take her back. But when they take her back, so that would not be considered Chadasha, and you can't just divorce your wife and then take her back and then be exempt from the army. That's not a way out of the army. And Lamaisa, only if you get married to a new woman who's new to you, so then you would be exempt from the army. Tana Rabbanan, Lo Yetze Bat Tzava. Again, when you marry a woman, you don't go out to the Tzava. Yachol Bat Tzava Hu De Lo Yetze. You might think you don't go out to the Tzava. Ava Yaspik Ma'im Umazam Talking Drachim. You still have to work for the army. You don't have to go onto the battlefield. You still have to supply water and food, and you have to fix up the Drachim. Tamuloma V'Lo Yavar Alav L'Chol Davar. You don't have to do anything. Yachol Sha'ani Marbe Afa Bon Bayis V'Lo Chancho Not Tekarm V'Lo Cholo Eusishu V'Lo L'Kacha. So you might have thought that includes everyone. Again, we had other exemptions besides somebody that gets married. Somebody that does Eris and he gets engaged, or he builds a new house, or he plants a vineyard. Says the Gemara, you might think that those people don't have to do anything either. Tamulomar Alav. That only the person who gets married doesn't have to do anything. He needs to be home with his wife. The person who's Eres or builds a new house or builds a new or plants a new vineyard, they don't go to the battlefield, but they still have to help out with bimitake and drachim, with fixing the ways and with giving food and all the other things. Once it says not to go out, at least what do you have to tell me? The person who gets married, he can't go out. He doesn't do anything. He stays home. So what do you have to tell me? He doesn't even go to the army. It's pashut. Says Ingmar to tell you two lavin, lav or lav b'shnei lavin. If you actually go to the army, it's not just that you have a choice. If you go to the army after being married, so you will be over two Isurim. You'll be over the Isur of Lo Yavor and over the Isur of Lo Yetzei Bat Tzava. Zok the Mishnah. V'yotzu Ashotim L'daber Ala'am. So this is the passage that we quoted before, that they told people, anybody who's Ish Yoreh V'rach Haleva V'yelech V'yasho Leveso. If you're not very brave, so then you should go home because you're going to take everybody else down with you. Rabbi Akiva takes it literally. This means somebody that can't literally stand the battle. He sees a sword and he faints. Right? We know people like that. People that can't be doctors. Like I can't be a doctor. You see blood and you faint right away. So you shouldn't be a doctor. So to over here, a person who sees a sword and right away he goes crazy and he gets very nervous. So that person doesn't go. That's what it's excluding. Rabbi Yosef Glili Omer no. And again, I don't think, even though the Gemara here seems to imply that Rabbi Yosef Glili would be to the exception. That means he would not hold like Rabbi Akiva. As we've seen in the Gemara, he seems to hold like Rabbi Akiva and he's just adding another category. So he says not only is a person who is scared, is going to be exempt from the war. But so too, like we mentioned above, if somebody is misyari min aver shebiyado, so he's also, if he's scared that he has averos and God's going to kill him for the averos at the war, so then Enochanami is also exempt. Very fascinating. We always talk about the fact that the Torah has kavod abrios in mind, and the Gemara seems to allude to this fact. Lefichach taslo Torah es kol elu sheyachzor biglalan. Very interesting, right? What happens if you tell somebody, "Oh, I can't be here because I'm scared"? Everybody's going to make fun of you. You're the scaredy cat. So it sounds like, it's not clear from the Mishnah, but it sounds like to my pashut reading of the Mishnah that the reason for the other exemptions, even though it tells us by Eres Isha what the reason is, but it sounds like the reason for the exemption of the bayis chadash, according to this Mishnah, and the reason for the exemption of planting a vineyard is just to give an excuse to the people that are actually scared, so that they won't be embarrassed, so that they could say, "Oh, I built a new house and I planted a new vineyard." Again, one can argue with that, but that seems to be the pashut pshat in the Mishnah here, that the reason that we go ahead and exempt somebody with a new house, exempt somebody with a new field, again, with a new wife, that would be different. You don't want somebody else to take her, you want to be samech with her, but a new field and a new wife, a new field and a new house, it sounds like, according to this Mishnah, they're dafka, so that the person who's embarrassed, or the person who would be scared, would have a way out without being embarrassed.
They don't know why he's leaving, right?
That's why we don't know why he's leaving. He's not going to tell anybody because he's scared. He's going to tell somebody, "Oh, I just built a new house." How convenient. Rabbi Yossi Omer. Rabbi Yossi says, "Amana l'kohen gadol, grusha v'chalutza l'kohen hedyam, mamzer sonesin l'Yisrael, bas Yisrael l'manzul l'nasan, harei hu ayari v'rach alevav." Again, seemingly, as we said above, it's once they marry them. Rabbi Yossi says, once you marry any of these people, you are pater. And the Gemara is going to ask, what's he adding to Rabbi Yossi Aglili? Rabbi Yossi Aglili just said that if you have an avera, so you're pater. So what's Rabbi Yossi telling us? He's like naming certain types of averas. Like for what? So the Gemara is going to say, he seems to be saying you're only pater from the war. You're only exempt if you have averos d'oraisa biyado. If you really did averos. If you just have averos d'Rabbanan, then you wouldn't be pater from the war. And that seems to make sense because everybody has averos d'Rabbanan. And then nobody would have to go to war. Listen to this. When they finished talking to the Am, so they appointed people in the front of the Am, and in the back of the Am. And what would they do? They would have people standing in the front and the back. Is that a beis or a chaf? They would hold axes. Anybody who tried to run away, they could sever their legs with the axe. What's pshat? So Rashi explains the people in the front, even though the people in the back seemingly also would help pick up the people that fall. Somebody's injured, somebody that falls, so you pick them up and you show everybody, okay, we're going to keep going, you're going to motivate people to go. They also had axes so that people who tried to run away, they could chop off their legs. What's the pshat? Why would you chop up the legs of somebody who's trying to run away? Because again, shetchila, says the Gemara, shetchilas nisa nefila. And the Gemara is going to explain in a second that it really meant to say shetchilas nefila nisa. The beginning of the downfall of the Jewish people will come from people running away. Because once people start running away, everybody's going to run away, and then before you know, we're going to be destroyed. So if somebody tries running away, off with his legs. Shanamar.
That's the guy you want to get rid of.
What?
I thought those kind of guys that you are exempt.
They're exempt if they didn't come in the first place. Once they're there and people start seeing them run away, so now you got to man up. Nas Yisrael ifnei plishtim v'gam ha'gefer gedolah ha'isaba'am. They ran away. You see that when the people ran away, so they actually fell and they were defeated.
It said that in Russian. It
says what? Be careful. If you come too close, you're going to be on the video. Saray tzva shema'amidin zekifin milifneim u'me'achareim u'keshilin shel barzel b'yadem v'chol mishor tzalatzar v'shutz b'alakech. Look at this. It's Mamish quoting Gemaras and SOTAH by heart from Rashi. Okay. What are you doing Friday? You need somebody to give the DAF Friday. Are you available?
I learned it last night. Someone mentioned that last night.
Oh, last night somebody mentioned it. Okay. 8:30. Mr. Rubinoff, Rabbi Rubinoff will be giving the DAF 8:30 on Friday. Mirz Hashem. Shkoyach, thank you.
8 to 20.
You don't even need a Gemara. Just bring a Chumash and he'll show you in the Chumash where everything in the Gemara is. You don't even need a Gemara. He's a Mikra guy. Baruch Hashem. You learned, how do you know Moshe and Aaron are brothers? How do you know Moshe and Aaron are brothers? Says the Gemara. Bamed Dvar Mamurin b'Melchemes Rishus. So this is very interesting. It says, forget about what we just spoke about for a second. Where do all of these exemptions apply? Only by a Melchemes Rishus. Aval b'Melchemes Mitzvah kol yotzan afilu chasan mechedro v'kala mechupasa. So by Melchemes Rishus, it's an optional Melchama, so that's where the exemptions apply. But there are no exemptions by a Melchemes Mitzvah, as Rashi explains, when you have to be a Kivush Eretz Yisrael, like in the times of Yoshua, you have to conquer the land. Even a Chasan under the Chuppah and a Kala under the Chuppah, they go and they have to fight in the war. That's called the Melchemes Mitzvah. Amr Bihuda b'Medvar Rum b'Melchemes Mitzvah. Where are they exempt? They're exempt by a Melchemes Mitzvah. Aval b'Melchemes Chova kol yotzan afilu chasan mechedro v'kala mechupasa. We'll have to see exactly what a Melchemes Mitzvah is and what a Melchemes Chova is according to Rabbi Yehuda. We'll get to that in just a second.
Here is that women went to help the war effort.
Clearly, of course, women went to help the war effort. Of course.
Right.
Where do you see that?
It says afilu chasan meikala. Kala meichlabasa. So perfect. Excellent. Shkoyach. That's not a bad thing, right? That's a good
No,
thing.
but it doesn't even say that she was only bringing food. She could have been on the battlefield.
Excellent.
It doesn't say how. It doesn't say how she helped.
My Ika ben Rabbi Yossi the Rabbi Yossi Aglili. Again, I told you that Rabbi Yossi Aglili says what? Rabbi Yossi Aglili is the one who said that you come back if you're Aryai v'rach alevav. Then Rabbi Yossi comes and he adds all of these cases. What's he adding? Let me say, we just said if you have sins in your hands, you're patur. So what are you telling me? Oh, if an amana marries a kohen gadol, if a kohen marries a grusha v'chalutza, what are you adding? My Ika ben Rabbi Yossi Aglili. Ika ben Avera d'Rabbanan. What happens if you did an Avera d'Rabbanan? So in that case, Rabbi Yossi Aglili seems to say that you would be patur me'orcha melchama even for an Avera d'Rabbanan, because he says that it's anybody who has an Avera shebiyado. Comes along Rabbi Yossi and seems to say no, it's dafka if you have an Avera d'Oraisa, like an amana l'kohen gadol or a grusha v'chalutza l'kohen ediot. That case he would be exempt. But if it was just a stam d'Rabbanan, so einachanami you would not be exempt. Kiman Azla, Ikibin Aver Drabanan. Kiman Azla Aditani, who does it go like? Sach ben Tfil Averi Biyad Vechozala Meorcha Melchama, Kiman Rabbi Yossi Aglili. It's like Rabbi Yossi Aglili who says that you would be pater even for Averis Dirabanan. What's this Aver Dirabanan that we're talking about? Talking about speaking between the Tefillin Shal Yad and Tefillin Shal Rosh. We know that today we make two brachas. The Sfardim actually only make one bracha. Because again, really one bracha should be able to go on both. Seemingly nowadays, because we're nervous that you're actually going to have a hefsek between the two of them, so you make two brachos. But Lamaisa, we hold, even with the two brachas, you're still not supposed to have a hefsek between the Tefillin Shal Yad and Tefillin Shal Rosh. But again, assuming you make one bracha, you definitely can't have a hefsek. Says the Gemara that if you do, that's an Avera. But again, that's seemingly an Avera Dirabanan. An Avera Dirabanan, and yet, what do you see here? Chozin aleh me'orcha al-melchama. You're exempt from going to the melchama. Who's that like? That's like Rabbi Yossi Aglili, who would say that you're pater, you're exempt even for Averos D'Rabbanan. As opposed to Rabbi Yossi, who would say you're only exempt from the battlefield for Averos D'Oraisa.
This patur is based on your psychological state of mind, though, because in other words, you have to be someone who is a yira.
Yeah, of course, of course.
If you're not so worried about it, and even if you did Mr. Midoraisa,
you're the one that needs to go ahead and request the exemption. If you're not scared, you say, God's not going to get me, I'm not scared of God. So nobody's going to force you. It sounds like we're not going to make you stay home. It sounds like if you want, if you're Yarei V'rach Levav, if you're actually faint of heart because of Averos that you have, so Einachanami, in that case, we will give you an exemption. Man Tana La'ad Tana Rabbanan. Who is the Tana that says, Shama Kol Kronos V'irtia? If you hear the voice of the trumpets, the sound of the trumpets, and you tremble. Hagafash Trisin V'irtia. You hear the clashing of the shields and you tremble. Tzichtsua Charavos. You hear the glitter of the shield, the glitter of the sword. Umayim shotzin la abirkov. This is the source, and you actually go to the bathroom because you're so scared. Says the Gemara Choser. Who says this? Come on, Lamer Rabbi Akiva below Rabbi Yossi Aglili. Maybe it's Rabbi Akiva again who said that it's pashup pshat, that you are exempt if you're scared. Not Rabbi Yossi Aglili who says you're only exempt if you're yarei v'rach alevav. What does that mean? Aver shabiyah. No, this is what I implied. Beha afilu Rabbi Yossi Aglili mod mishum tesiv lo yimas esavavechav kilavavo. No, Rabbi Yossi Aglili would agree. And this is what I said originally. Seemingly, he would agree, and he's adding. Yes, of course, if somebody is so scared that he's going ahead and he's going to the bathroom because he's so scared, so Lamaisa, he would be exempt, because what's the reason that a person is exempt, says the pasuk, because you're going to turn off the other people. So Lamaisa, you're going to turn off the other people if you're very scared. So it sounds like Rabbi Yossi, Aglili, and Rabbi Akiva both agree. If you're very scared of going to war, if you're a scaredy cat, you're exempt. Comes along Rabbi Yossi Aglili and adds another category, that if you're scared because of Averu Shebiyado, so seemingly you would be exempt from going to war as well. Says the Gemara. V'haya kechalos hashotrim. Chaim neshet chilas nisan nefila mibneshet chilas nefila nisan mibayilei ema mibneshet chilas nefila nisan. That's what I said before. That it only makes sense if you say the reason that we chop off the legs is because the beginning of the falling is the running away. Not the beginning of the running away is the falling. But med var marur be'melchemes harishus. Zak the Gemara. Amr Rabbi Yochanan. Very interesting. Rishus de Rabbanan zohi mitzvah de Rabbi Yehuda. Again. The Rabbanan said that Melchemes Rishus, they're exempt, but not Melchemes Mitzvah. Rabbi Yehudi says that they're exempt from Melchemes Mitzvah, not from Melchemes Chova. What's the nafkamina? Says the Gemara that which the Rotana Kama refers to as a Melchemes Rishus for which you're exempt, that's the Melchemes Mitzvah for which you're exempt, the Rabbi Yehuda holds. They're just using different lashon. Mitzvah de Rabbanan zohi chova de Rabbi Yehuda. And that which the Rabbanan say is a mitzvah, Melchemes Mitzvah, which you're not exempt for, even a kala, even a chasan, that's what Rabbi Yehuda refers two as a Melchemes Chava. So they agree. They both agree that for a Melchemes Rishus, whether they call it a Melchemes Rishus or a Melchemes Mitzvah, for a Melchemes Rishus, an optional war, they will be exempt. But for a Melchemes Mitzvah or a Melchemes Chova, whatever you want to call it, like Kibush Eretz Yisrael, they would have to actually not be exempt. Amar Rava. Melchemes Yoshua l'chava is divrei kol chova, like we just said. That's a chova, that's a mitzvah, whatever you want to refer to it, they will not be exempt. Melchemes Beis David l'ravcha divrei kol rishus. If it's Beis David to gain more field, to gain more land, that's for sure rishus, and they will be exempt. What's in the middle? Ki pligi l'ma'ute obdei kachavim de lo liselai. What about a preemptive strike? Preemptive strike is interesting. The Gemara doesn't even talk about a defensive strike. The Gemara seems to talk about a preemptive strike. The Gemara doesn't even mention what happens if you have a defensive strike. It sounds like to me that if you have a defensive strike, then everybody would be chayav. A defensive, not a strike. Well, yeah, defensive strike. If you're attacking them or you're just defending yourself, it sounds like, again, it doesn't say in the Gemara, but it sounds like, in my humble opinion, that everyone would have to go ahead and partake. But what about a preemptive strike?
I thought this is so they will not come back on Israel. So it sounds like a defensive strike. You're fighting them.
Is that what it is?
So they won't come and
that sounds to be preemptive. Again, that seems to be preemptive.
So you're starting the fight in order that they won't attack you later.
Right, but that's what preemptive is. And the reason I'm saying that, the only reason that I think it makes a difference is because, as Rashi says, the exemption would apply to all. That by a preemptive strike, the exemption would apply. You can't bring rayas from art school, but you can bring me a raya from art school. Yeah, sure.
They call it a preemptive.
They call it preemptive. Okay, fine. So, yes. So then you can bring. If he says what I say, you can bring rayas from art school. No problem. So preemptive strike, as long as he agrees with me, fine. So the Maisa, it sounds like to me again. That a defensive strike everyone would have to go, but it's not clear in the Gemara. But a preemptive strike, it sounds like a way Rashi learns that people would be exempt. So again, you're exempt for a Melchemes Rishus, you're exempt for a preemptive strike, you're just going to be, nobody's going to be exempt from a Chova / Mitzvah, whatever you want to call it, when it's Kibush Eretz Yisrael. So what's the nafkamina? Why are they calling it, and what does it mean that they're arguing about a preemptive strike? Mar Kari Le Mitzvah, Rabbi Yehuda calls it a Mitzvah, Mar Kari Le Rishus, and Mar calls it a Rishus. Nafkamina la osek b'mitzvah shapatam min mitzvah. If you have a preemptive strike, so now the only question is it called a rishus or is it called a mitzvah? Seemingly they would both say that these people are exempt. But if you want to call it a rishus or a mitzvah, what's the nafkamina? Well, if it's a rishus, the people that actually are not exempt, the people that go to battle, if it's a rishus, so then they would have to go ahead and they'd have to do mitzvahs while they're doing it, while they're doing this preemptive strike. And if it's called a Melchemes mitzvah, a preemptive strike, so then they would be patur mitzvahs. It just gets in my mind, again, as I'm sure it does for all of you, it gets in my mind when you always see the pictures of the Sahal, like engaged in battle, and then you see them like davening. So just an interesting question again. Are they doing that mitzad hadin, or are they doing that seemingly that when you're at war, it seems to be like lamala min hadin, something that's not necessarily necessary again, but that might be totally on this machlokes here. If the melchama, or like if the defense that they're doing now is just considered to be a rishus, so then one can argue that they would be chayav. Again, if they're in the battle, it's one thing, but if one can argue that while they're sitting on the borders over there just patrolling, so one can argue that maybe even halachically there would be a discussion. If you consider it to be a Melchemes mitzvah, even to be patrolling, you might actually be patur, osek mitzvah, patur min mitzvah. Again, nowadays, most of them are going to be able to daven anyway, but the Meiser would be an interesting philosophical discussion.
This whole thing is dependent on Kibush Eretz Yisrael.
Again, the Kibush Eretz Yisrael for sure would be patur. Oh, but again, it's not just Kibush Eretz Yisrael. If you're talking about a defensive war or preemptive war, so if that's called a mitzvah, so then in Echanami they would be patur min mitzvah. Again, mitzad adin, they might choose to daven anyway, but the question is whether they actually patur or not.
So the question is whether they have the opportunity.
Whether they have the opportunity. So if they have the opportunity, then for sure they can. But the question is, let's say they're just mitzad adin, are they actually patur or not? Hadrin Allah mashuach milchama. Egla rufa. So the egla rufa is the cow that is broken. The neck is broken, as we'll see. That's the whole parak over here. The neck is broken if you find a body between two cities and you're not sure from which city the body came from. And again, it's not necessarily that the person was killed. It sounds like it was found, and part of the reason is that you're upset that nobody took care of the person. They starved, they didn't have a place to sleep. So if you find a body in between two cities, so you, as we'll see, you call in the Sanhedrin, they have to measure the two cities, and whichever city is closer, so there's a Canaan from that city, come ahead and they say, Yadenu lo shavchu. It wasn't our yad, which is very interesting because they don't know that it wasn't their yad. But again, they seem to be saying that proactively we didn't kill anybody, Yadenu lo shavchu. And then the Kohanim, or the people from the Sanhedrin, as we'll see, will say, Kaper la'amcha Yisrael. You should go ahead and this should be a kapara for all of Am Yisrael. So the Egla Rufa B'Lashon HaKodesh, period. And again, as we'll see in the Gemara, it's supposed to be a period here. Even though it sounds like it's a run-on sentence, it's really supposed to be a period. Egla Rufa B'Lashon HaKodesh. This back and forth, that the Zekanim of the city that's closest to the corpse, when they say, Adenu lo shafchu, our hands didn't spill the blood, and the Kohanim answer and say, Yichkaper Lamcha Yisrael, this back and forth needs to be in Hebrew. That's what the Mishnah says. Shenamar, again, this seems to be a separate discussion. The pasuk says by Negla Rufa, if you find a corpse in the Adama, the Yatsu Zikenecha Vishavtecha, then the Zikenecha and the Shavtecha go out and they have to measure, etc., etc. Says the Gemara, Shloshim Mibezin Hagodosh Yerushalayim Hayotz, and the Tanakama says, who comes out to measure? 3 people. So you see, it's not just a pasha thing. Nowadays you say, what's the big deal? You just go ahead and you take a measuring stick and you do it. No, this was a real thing, and it needed to be done with 3 people from the Bezin Hagodosh Yerushalayim. Why 3? Well, seemingly, even if you needed 2, you need to have a Bezin Hashakol, as we'll see. You always have to have an odd person in order, again, if it was very close and it was a close call and you needed somebody to decide, so you have to have an odd number. So the Tanna Kama says you need 3 shoftim, you need 3 from the Beis Hagadol, Rabbi Yehuda Omer Chamisha, you need 5. Shenemar, where do you see it from? Well, it says, Ki matzechal avi yatsu zikenecha v'shoftecha. So Shenemar zikenecha is shnayim, shoftecha is shnayim, vein Beis and shakel, it can't be an even number. Mosivin alei nodechad. Seemingly, the Tanna Kama would hold that we either don't learn zikenecha or we don't learn shoftecha, as we'll see. Nimsa tamun bagal, if you find the body that's hidden in a pile of rocks or stones, or tale be'ilan, or hanging from a tree, or tzav b'nei amayim, or floating on the water, lo hayu orphan, then they would not do the egla rufa. Why? Because it says shenamar ba'adama, you find in the adama v'lotama magal, not hidden in the stones. No fail, it has to be fallen v'lotale be'ilan, not hanging from a tree. Basada, it needs to be in the field, v'lot tzaf b'nei amayim, not floating in the water. Nimsa samoch lasfar, you find it close to the border of Eretz Yisrael. O li'ir sheruba of dekchavim, you find it close to a city that is mostly of dekchavim. O li'ir she'im ba'bezin, you find it close to a city that doesn't have a bezin, lo hayu orphan. We'll have to see why. What's the DAF mean? Whether it's near the border of Eretz Yisrael, or near a city that's Rudei Kochavim, or near a city that doesn't have a bezin. Ein modin el li'ir she'esh ba'bezin, and again, it seems to repeat itself. We'll have to see what this means. You don't measure except for an ear that has a bezin. My kamar. What does the Mishnah mean? And it says, i.e., why does the Mishnah hold that this has to be done in Hebrew? Amar v'vau hachi kamar shenamar, because it says v'anu v'amru. It says over here in the pasuk that the Kohanim and the Zekanim have to anu v'amru. Lahalanu omer v'anu alevim v'amru. Over there it says that the Levim have to be anu v'amru. Where does it say anu v'amru by the Levim? By the brachos and klalos of our gvizim and our aizel. Excellent. Ma'ani amur l'al b'lashon hakodesh, and just like the Torah goes ahead and over there says that it needs to be done in Hebrew. Afkan, since it's the same words v'anu v'amru, we learn over here b'lashon hakodesh. Then the Gemara adds the words that are missing in the Mishnah. V'seider egla rufa keitzad. Again, that's why I said there's a period there. And what's the seder of the egla rufa? I.e. ki matzei chalal ba'adama v'yatzei genef sh'decha shloshim beis nagol v'shlayim hayu yotzin. Fine. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Chabisha. So what's the machlokas? Whether you need 3 or 5? Says the Gemara, Tana Rabbanan, v'yatzu zikenecha v'shovtecha. As the Mishnah said, zikenecha shnayim, shovtecha shnayim. The elders are 2, shovtecha, the judges are 2. Ve'ein beis and shakel, it can't be an even number 4. Motzim nalei nodechad arei kan chamisha div Rabbi Yehuda. That's Rabbi Yehuda. So where does Rabbi Shimon come from? Rabbi Yehuda makes a lot of sense. V'yatzu zikenecha v'shovtecha. Comes along Rabbi Yehuda and says no. Zikenecha comes on Rabbi Shimon and says no. Zikenecha shnayim ve'ein beis and shakel masiv nalei nodechad arei kan shlosha. So what are we going to ask on Rabbi Shimon? What happened to Shovtecha? For Rabbi Shimon, Nami Aksiv Vishovtecha, Hahumi Bailele Miyuchadin Shabishovtecha. No. Zikenecha teaches me that you need 2, i.e. 3, because it can't be equal. Shovtecha doesn't teach me you need another 2 to make 5. It teaches me that these 3 of Zikenecha need to be the Miyuchadin Shabishovtecha. They need to be the special ones, i.e. from the Beis and Agadol. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yehuda miziknei zikenecha nafkas. How does Rabbi Yehuda know that they have to be from the Sanhedrin Agadol? Because it could have said ziknei shovtecha. The fact that it says zikenecha v'shovtecha, zikenecha teaches 2, shovtecha teaches 2, zikenecha as opposed to ziknei teaches that the 4/5 have to be from the Sanhedrin Agadol. For Rabbi Shimon it says zikenecha. What happened if it says ziknei? Ikas of rachamana ziknei. No, if it said ziknei, havaminu filu ziknei shuk. I might have thought just regular ziknei from the shuk. Kas of rachmana zikenecha. Because of rachmana ziknei Zikenecha havamina afilu Sanhedra Kitana. If it would have said Zikenecha, I would have thought even the Sanhedra Kitana. Says the Gemara, Kazvachamana Vishovtecha Lemiyuchadin Shebishovtecha. Because again, when you're saying that you need the Sanhedrin, so it could either be the Sanhedrin Agadol or Sanhedrin Akatan. So you might have thought it's Sanhedrin Akatan. Says the Gemara, no, it's the Sanhedrin Hagadol. So now you have the proof from both. Rabbi Yehuda Gamar Zikne Zikne Mizikne Eda. Says the Gemara, maybe Rabbi Yehuda, who learns 5, can learn Mizikne Eda. Where does it say Zikne Eda over here? Where is Zikne Eda? Come on, who's holding in Chumash? Where does it say Zikne Eda?
Mendel.
Zikne Eda is by the Par Helim Davar Shel Tzibor. If the Beis Din makes a mistake and makes a ruling, and then the people go ahead and sin based on the ruling, so they have to bring a korban and they have to do smicha. Who does the smicha? So the smicha is done by the zikanim. Says the Gemara, over there it needs to be done by the Sanhedrin. Says the Gemara, if that's true that you're learning that over here it needs to be done by the Sanhedrin, by the Egla Rufa, because over there it was done by the Sanhedrin. But we know over there, over there it was also done by 5. So what do you have to teach me, Rabbi Yehuda, that over here is by 5? You just learn the whole thing from the case of Har Halim Davar, that is done by 5 and is done by the Sanhedrin Gedalia. Therefore the Gemara throws out everything that we've said until now, and the Gemara comes back and learns differently. Zikenecha v'shovtecha lamali, elavav v'shovtecha leminyana, v'Rabbi Shimon, flip the page, Rabbi Shimon, vav lo mashmalei. So what does it come out? L'maisa, it comes out as follows. The maskana is that v'yatzu zikenecha v'shovtecha by the Egla Rufa. Zikenecha, everyone agrees, is 2. Shovtecha, everyone agrees, teaches me that it has to be from the Sanhedrin HaGedolah. So it has to be Sanhedrin Gedolah, and it has to be 2. So Lamaisa, where do you get this machlok at 3 and 5? So Rabbi Shimon says you stop there. Zikenecha is 2. You can't be 2. It can't be even. So it has to be an odd number. So we add 1. Now you have 3. And the 3 need to be from Shovtecha, from the Sanhedrin Agadol. Where does Rabbi Yehuda come from? Says the Gemara, Vav v'Shovtecha leminyana. Rabbi Yehuda is going to go and he's going to learn from the Vav, and therefore Rabbi Yehuda is going to come out. Zikenecha is 2. Is 2, i.e. 4. It can't be 4, it has to be 5. Shovtecha comes out, that has to be from the Sanhedrin Gedolah. And Rabbi Shimon, again, is not going to learn from the Vav, and he's left with Zikenecha, Shovtecha, 2/3, Shovtecha from the Sanhedrin Gedolah. So that's where you left out. You need either 3 or you need 5, and it has to be from the Sanhedrin Gedolah.